शुक्लां भरतरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करभावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। अगजानन पद्मार्कं गजाननमहर्निशम् अनेकदन्तं भक्तानाम् एकदन्तमुपास्महे। श्रीमहागणपतये नमः। गुरवे सर्वलोकानां विषजे भवरोगिणां निधये सर्वविद्यानां श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। अस्मद्गुरुचरणारविन्दाभ्यां नमः। वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं। ज्ञानानन्दमयं देवं निर्मलस्फटिकाकृतिम् आधारं सर्वविद्यानां श्रीहयग्रीवमुपास्महे। श्रीहयग्रीवमूर्तये नमः। सरस्वती नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणि विद्यारम्भं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा। श्रीमहासरस्वत्यै नमः। उमाकोमलहस्ताब्जसम्भावितललाटकं हिरण्यकुण्डलं वन्दे कुमारं पुष्करस्वजं। வெற்றிவேல் முருகனுக்கு ஹர ஹரோஹரா. லோகவீரியம் மகாபூஜ்யம் சர்வரக்ஷாகரம் விபும் பார்வதி ஹிருதயானந்தம் சாஸ்தாரம் பிரணமாம்யகம். சுவாமியே சரணமையப்பா. वागर्ताविव सम्पृक्तौ वागर्त प्रतिपत्तये जगतः पितरौ वन्दे पार्वती परमेश्वरौ। श्रीपार्वती परमेश्वराभ्यां नमः। कोमलं पूजयन् वेणुं श्यामलोऽयं कुमारकः वेदवेद्यं परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। अस्मद्गुरुचरणारविन्दाभ्यां नमः। श्रीकृष्ण गोविन्द हरे मुरारे श्रीनाथ नारायण वासुदेव। श्रीकृष्ण गोविन्द हरे मुरारे श्रीनाथ नारायण वासुदेव। श्रीकृष्ण गोविन्द हरे मुरारे श्रीनाथ नारायण वासुदेव। पीताम्बरं करविराजितचक्रशङ्खकौमोदकी सरसिजं करुणासमुद्रं राधासहायम् अतिसुन्दरमन्दहासं वातालयेशम् अनिशं हृदि भावयामि। कृष्णो रक्षतु मां चराचरगुरुः कृष्णं नमस्ये सदा। कृष्णेनैव सुरक्षितोऽहमसकृत् कृष्णाय दत्तं मनः। कृष्णादेव समुद्भवो मम विभो कृष्णस्य दासोऽस्म्यहम्। कृष्णे भक्तिरचञ्चलास्तु भगवन् हे कृष्ण तुभ्यं नमः। श्रीगुरुवायूरप्पा शरणं नम्राणां सन्निधत्ते सततमपि पुरस्तैरणभ्यर्थितानपि अर्थान् कामानजस्रं वितरति परमानन्दसान्द्रां गतिं च। इत्थं निःशेषलभ्यो निरवधिकफलः पारिजातो हरे त्वं क्षुद्रं तं शक्रवाटी ध्रुममभिलषति व्यर्थमर्त्यव्रजोऽयम्। श्रीगुरुवायूरप्पा शरणं श्रीभट्टपादम् अनिशं हृदि भावयामि। वंशी विभूषितकरात् नवनीरधाभात् पीताम्बरात् अरुणबिम्बफलादरोष्टात् पूर्णेन्दुसुन्दरमुखात् अरविन्दनेत्रात् कृष्णात् परं किमपि तत्त्वमहं न जाने। കൈരണ്ടും കൂപ്പി ഞാൻ വീണ്ടുമീറക്കുന്നു നീരജലോചന നിന്നോടായി. ഏതീനു മന്യാനെ കുമ്പിടേണ്ടാത്തോരു രീതിയിൽ നീ എന്നെ പാലിക്കെന്നായി. കൃഷ്ണ ഹരേ ജയ കൃഷ്ണ ഹരേ ജയ Krishna Hare Jaya Krishna Hare. Good morning, everyone. Happy Thanksgiving for all of you. I know we have limited attendance today, so we'll see. Okay. Okay, so maybe Madhu, can you do 80?
Yes. Om Shri Krishnaya Parabrahmane Namaha. Dasakam 80 Syamantaka Upakhyanam. सत्राजितस्त्वमथ लुब्धवदर्कलब्धं दिव्यं स्यमन्तकमणिं भगवन्न याचीः तत्कारणं बहुविधं मम भाति नूनं तस्यात्मजां त्वयिरतां छलतो विवोढुम् अदत्तं तं तुभ्यं मणिवरमने नाल्पमनसा प्रसेनस्तद्भ्राता गलभुवि वहन् प्राप मृगयाम् अहन्नेनं सिंहो मणिमहसि मांसभ्रमवशात् कपीन्द्रस्तं हत्वा मणिमपि च बालाय ददिवान् शशंसुः सत्राजित् गिरमनु जनास्त्वां मणिहरं जनानां पीयूषं भवति गुणिनां दोषकणिका ततः सर्वज्ञोऽपि स्वजनसहितो मार्गणपरः प्रसेनं तं दृष्ट्वा हरिमपि गतो भूः कपिगुहाम् भवन्तं भवन्तमवितर्कयन्नवितया स्वयं जाम्बवान् मुकुन्द शरणं हि मां क इह रोधुमित्यापलन् विभो रघुपते. Is that the correct tune?
Little slightly different. Bhavantam tivayas.
भवन्तमवितर्कयन्निवतया स्वयं जाम्भवान् मुकुन्दशरणं हि मां क इह रोधुमित्यापलन् विभो रघुपते हरे जय जयेत्यलं मुष्टिभिश्चिरं चिरं तव समर्चनं व्यधित भक्तचूडामणिः.
The second line, last word, rodhum ityalapan.
रोद्धुम् इत्यालपन्.
Ityalapan, yeah. Okay.
इत्यालपन्.
Next one also tune changes, yeah.
बुधद्वात्
4 line.
बुद्ध्वाथ तेन दत्तां नवरमणीं वरमणीं च परिगृह्णन् अनुगृह्णन्ननुमगाः सपदि च सत्राजिते मणिं प्रादाः
The second line, first word, Madhu. Anugrinnannam. Go ahead. Anugrinnannamumagaha.
अनुगृह्णन्नमुमागाः.
Double na. This is a na, and then it's a double na coming, right? So anugrannannamumagaha. Cannot quite break it exactly because it breaks at the last ma. So you just make sure you're seeing it together later.
अनुगृह्णन्
Mumagaha.
तदनु स खलु व्रीलालोलो विलोचनां दुहितरमहो धीमान् भामां गिरैव परार्पिताम् अदितमणिना तुभ्यं लभ्यं समेत्य भवानपि प्रमुदितमनास्तस्यैवादान् मणिं गहनाशयः व्रीलाकुलां रमयति त्वयि सत्यभामां कौन्तेयदाह कथयाथ कुरून् प्रयाते हि गान्धिनेय कृतवर्मगिरा निपात्य सत्राजितं शतधनुर्मणिमाजहार शोकात् कुरून् उपगतामवलोक्य कान्तां हत्वा द्रुतं शतधनुं समहर्षयस्तां रत्ने शशाङ्क इव मैथिलगेहमेत्य रामो गदां समशिशिक्षतधार्तराष्ट्रम्.
Third line, second word, Shashanka. I think you added an extra R there. Sashanka.
रत्ने शशाङ्क इव. Okay. अक्रूर एष भगवन् भवदिच्छयैव सत्राजितः कुचरितस्य युयोज हिंसाम् अक्रूरतो मणिमनाहृतवान् पुनस्त्वं तस्यैव भूतिम् उपधातुमिति ब्रुवन्ति भक्तस्त्वयि स्थिरतरः स हि गान्धिनेयः तस्यैव का पथमतिः कथमीश जाता विज्ञानवान् प्रशमवान् अहमित्युदीर्णं गर्वं ध्रुवं शमयितुं भवता कृतैव यातं भयेन कृतवर्मयुतं पुनस्ताम् आहूय तद्विनिहितं च मणिं प्रकाश्य तत्रैव तत्रैव सुव्रतधरे विनिधाय तुष्यन् भामा शयनः पवनेशपायाः. श्रीकृष्णाय परब्रह्मणे नमः.
First line, last word, punastam. Okay, I think that we should add an a there. Punastam ahuya.
Oh, Punastam Ahuya. Thank you.
Good job. Yeah, I think it's a little tough because the tunes keep changing. You have to just get to the point where the moment you finish the first one, you should know what the next tune is. Otherwise, it's very hard to figure out the tune real time, right? Like that's the only way out, right? But anyway, very good. All right. So 81, we had already done the first two, but I know I haven't said the meaning of that. So I'll start with that and then we'll get into the class. Stanza 1. Snigdham mugdham सततमपितां लालयन् सत्यभामां यातो भूयः सह खलुतया याज्ञसेनी विवाहं पार्थप्रीत्यै पुनरपि मनागास्तितो हस्तिपुर्यां शक्रप्रस्थं पुरमपि विभो संविधायागतो भूः. So last class we saw about the Samantakamani, but we also saw mainly the marriage of 79 we saw Krishna Rukmini. In 80 we saw Krishna Jambavati and Krishna Satyabhama, right? So those are the main things we saw. So here, like I said, like 79 was the first, 780 was second and third. Now all of a sudden 81, there are going to be 5 more marriages which are going to happen, and then the 16,000 women who Krishna is going to rescue from Narakasura. So all of that is in Dashakam 81. So it's got a lot of topics in there. But the first two, like we said, a lot of these topics now start getting merged with the Mahabharata story, which is also going on in parallel, which is happening at the same time, right? So here it initially talks about the marriage that is actually happening. Yagnya Seni is referring to Draupadi, right? So the daughter of Yagnya Sena. So that Draupadi's marriage is happening to the Pandavas right now. So after that happens, Krishna, you go there, right, to Hastinapuram. So and then multiple things are actually happening there, and eventually at some point, right, Dhritarashtra gives Pandavas some portion of the kingdom. So that some portion of the kingdom that he gives is actually a barren land, right? It is called as the Khandava Prastha because it is surrounded by the Khandava forest, but that land itself is a very barren land. Nothing was actually growing there or nothing was actually there. So at that time, Krishna and Arjuna, with the help of Agni, they burn out the entire forest that is actually there. And then Indra comes to fight with Arjuna, all of that stuff. It's all there in Mahabharata. But main point here was Arjuna defeats Indra, so Indra ends up giving up that land. So that land is called as Indraprastha because Indra is giving up that land for Arjuna to take over, which is the current modern day Delhi, right? So anyway, so you kind of help Pandavas settle there. That was a takeaway from this, right? You, Krishna, you go there to Hastinapuram and Pandavas get that small amount of region. You help the Pandavas and Arjuna settle there and make Indraprastha their capital, and then you come back. So Snigdham Mugdham. Oh, sorry, we already finished. So second stanza. Bhadram Bhadram Bhavadavarajam Kauravenapyamanam Twadvachatam Ahrita Kuhanamaskari Shakrasunuhu Tatra Kruddham Balamanunayan Pratyagastena Sardham Shakraprastham Priyasakamude Satyabhama Sahayah. Shakraprastham also refers to Indraprastham because Shakra refers to Indra, right? Anyway, so you all know the story about when the Pancha Pandavas married Draupadi. They had a rule that Draupadi could be only with one Pandava at a time, and if any other Pandava enters, then they get a exile, right, for 12 years. And Arjuna had to break that rule to protect somebody else, so he goes 12 years out on exile. During that period of exile, Arjuna is earlier in love with Shubhadra, who is the sister of Krishna and Balarama. So Arjuna decides to come to Dwaraka dressed as like a sannyasi or somebody who's a great devotee of Shiva. He comes there because he wants to woo Shubhadra. So Krishna comes to know about it, that Arjuna has come dressed like that. Krishna identifies Arjuna. And then, but Krishna says the problem, Arjuna, is Balarama wants Subhadra to be married to Duryodhana. So he says it's very difficult for you to marry Subhadra, but he says, but if Subhadra is in true love with you, I'll make sure you both run away with it. So anyway, so Arjuna is still disguised. She and Subhadra meets. Krishna comes to know that Subhadra is also in love with Arjuna, and Krishna arranges for Arjuna to abduct Subhadra, very similar to how he did Rukmini, but both of them had consent, so there was no forced abduction here. But one day when he had gone to the temple, Arjuna comes, and Arjuna then takes Subhadra and he goes away. So this is really talking about the marriage between Arjuna and Subhadra, which is actually happening in Dwaraka. Okay, and then you finally, Krishna, along with Satyabhama, goes to Indraprastha. I mean, that the travel keeps happening between that region. So, all right. So we'll get into today's class. Lalita Rajagopalan, you can be a student, and Preeti, you can be a student. Stanza 3. तत्र क्रीडन्नपि च यमुना कूलदृष्टां गृहीत्वा तां कालिन्दीं नगरमगमः खाण्डवप्रीणिताग्निः धातुत्रस्तां प्रणयविवशां देवपैतृष्वसेः राज्ञां मध्ये सपदि जगृषे मित्रमिन्दाम् अवन्तीम्. So each of these stanzas, now two marriages are going to happen, right? So the first one, is between Krishna and Arjuna. One day are walking along the river. So Kalindi, which is river Yamuna. So each of these rivers or each of these water bodies have a deity. So the deity of Yamuna, Kalindi, who had come there, at that time, she had to get married to Krishna, and that was, it's a person, who is representing as a deity of the river. So she is in love with Krishna, and then she marries Krishna. That is the first story of Krishna and Arjuna meet her one day, and Krishna knows that she is there. And remember, all of these things that are happening here is like when Krishna Avataram happens, just like a drama troupe is actually going from city to city, like to do a show. All of these people are born or take incarnations on earth along with Krishna. So that is the purpose of them. They all follow Krishna everywhere. So they all incarnate, which means they have to get into union. They have to get merged with Krishna at some point. So that's why all these people are at different places. But eventually they all will connect back to Krishna, because the whole purpose of taking birth is to get married to Krishna or to be friends with Krishna or to die at the hands of Krishna. One of them, right? So here Kalindi is the first one. The second one is Mitravindha. So Mitravindha, Paitrushva Sevin. Paitrushva Sevin comes from the root word Pitru, which means she is Krishna's father's sister's son. Okay, so in Tamil they say Atta Ponnu, right? So father, sister's son. So that by Mitravindha, she, had two brothers, and again, the story generally goes very consistent. They all want that girl to be married to, Kauravas or Duryodhana or something. But Mitravinda wants to be married to Krishna, but they had a Swayamvara ceremony where Krishna goes there because he knows Mitravinda is in love with Krishna. So he goes to that Swayamvara ceremony where Mitravinda chooses Krishna to be her husband, and then they both get married there. So that is the fourth one or fifth one. So Kalindi is the fourth, Mitravinda is the fifth one. Tatra Kridan Napi Cha Yamuna Kula Drishtam Grihitva, Tam Kalindim Nagaramagamaha, Khandava Prinitagnihi. You do two lines here. Tatra Kridhannapi cha Yamuna Kula Drishtam Grihitva Tam Kalindim Nagaramagamaha Khandava Prinitagnihi.
तत्र क्रीडन् अपि च यमुना कूलदृष्टां गृहीत्वा तां कालिन्दीं नगरमहमह खाण्डवप्रीणिदाग्निः तत्र क्रीडन् अपि च यमुना कूलदृष्टां गृहीत्वा तां कालिन्दीं नगरमहमह खाण्डवप्रीणिदाग्निः
तत्र क्रीडन्नपि च यमुना कूलदृष्टां गृहीत्वा तां कालिन्दीं नकरमकमः काण्डवप्रीणिताग्निः तत्र क्रीडन्नपि च यमुना कूलदृष्टां गृहीत्वा तां कालिन्दीं नकरमकमः काण्डवप्रीणिताग्निः.
Bhratru Trastam Pranaya Vivasham, comma, Deva Paitrishva Seyim, comma. This word is going to come again because he's going to marry one more of his Atyapunna. Paitrishva Seyim, comma, Rajnyam Madhye Sapadi Jahrishe, comma, Mitra Vindam Avanti. So she was in the region of Avanti, so daughter of the king of Avanti. Bhratratrastam Pranaya Vivasham Deva Paitrishvasehi Rajnyam Madhye Sapadi Jakrishe Mitra Vindam Avanti.
प्रादृद्रस्तां प्रणयविवशां देववैदृश्वसेयीं राज्ञां मध्ये सपदि जगृषे मित्रविन्दाम् अवन्तीं प्रादृद्रस्तां प्रणयविवशां देववैदृश्वसेयीं राज्ञां मध्ये सपदि जगृषे मित्रविन्दाम् अवन्ती
भ्रातृत्रस्तां प्रणयविवशां देवपैतृष्वसेयीं राज्ञां मध्ये सपदि च हृषे मित्रविन्दामवन्तीं भ्रातृत्रस्तां प्रणयविवशां देवपैतृष्वसेयीं राज्ञां मध्ये सपदि च हृषे मित्रविन्दामवन्तीम्.
That's support. Satyam Ghatva Punarudabaho Nagnajinandanam Tam Badva Sapta Picha Vrishavaran Sapta Murtir Nimeshat Bhadram Nama Pradaduratate Deva Santardhanadhyas Tatsodharya Varada Bhavata Sapi Paitrishvasehi. So the next one who is married. So we know that Mahalakshmi took incarnation as Rukmini, right? That was that. And then there's Bhudevi, who is the other wife, who then took birth as Satyabhama. And we're going to see a little bit of that reference of Bhudevi coming later in this Dashakam. Then the third known names I'm talking about of Mahavishnu's wife is Nila Devi. So that Nila Devi, who is one of the other consorts of Mahavishnu, is born as this particular person called Nagnajiti. So Nagnajiti is the daughter of the king Nagnajita. So her name is Nagnajiti. So this Nagnajiti is also related to Krishna, who is his mother's side. So, like his mother's brother's daughter. So, in that relation, is Nagnajiti, who's, like I said, is the incarnation of Nila Devi. So that king Nagnajita had a Swayamvaram, but in that, as part of it, the condition was whoever is going to, marry his daughter had to fight 7 bulls at the same time and win against them. So a lot of people were not able to do it. So Krishna, you then go there and then you Sapta Murtihi, you then take 7 forms to fight with the 7 bulls. You defeat the 7 bulls in that thing, and then with that you get Nagnajiti in hand, right? You can marry Nagnajiti. So that is the 6th one. 3, 5, 6, yeah. Then the 7th one is Bhadra. So this Bhadra is again Paitrishvasei. So another father's side, paternal father's sister's daughter, right? So this Bhadra, there was no challenge, no problem in case of Bhadra. Like she also was in love with Krishna, her brothers, her father, everybody was okay with her marrying Krishna. So they had a Swayambara ceremony where again the bride gets to pick, and she ended up picking Krishna as well. So that is the other marriage of Bhadra, which is happening there. So this Bhadram is referring to Bhadra. In the stanza 2, the Bhadram referred to Subhadra. Okay, that's the word, same root word of Bhadra is getting used, but it is different people. Satyam Gatva. So Satya is the other name for Nagnajiti. She had 2 names, Satya or Nagnajiti. Satyam Gatva Punarudavaho Nagnajin Nandanam Tam, comma, Badva Saptapi cha Brishabaran, comma, Sapta Murtir Nimeshat. Satyam Gatva Punarudavaho Nagnajin Nandanam Tam Badva Saptapi cha Brishabaran Sapta Murtir Nimeshat.
सत्यां गत्वा पुनरुतवहो नग्नजिन्नन्दनां तां बद्ध्वा सप्ताभि च वृषभरान् शब्दमूर्धिर्निमेषात् सत्यां गद्वा पुनरुदवहो नग्नजिन्नन्दनां तां बद्ध्वा सप्ताभिष वृषवरान् सप्तमूर्तिर्निमेषात्
सत्यां गत्वा पुनरुदवहो नग्नजिन्नन्दनां तां बद्ध्वा सप्तापि च वृषवरान् सप्तमूर्तेर्निमेषात् सत्यां गत्वा पुनरुदवहो नग्नजिन्नन्दनां तां बद्ध्वा सप्तापि च वृषवरान् सप्तमूर्तेर्निमेषात्
Bhatram Nama Pradadurata Te Deva Santardhanadhya. You have to put a plus there. And then there is a is, which is there in the next line. So you can join it to the end of third line. So you'll be able to see it easily. Santardhanadhyas Tatsodarya, comma. So that line is continuous. After Tatsodarya, comma. Bharada Bhavataha, put a is, Bhavatas Sapi Paitrishva Seyi. Bhadram Nama Pradaduratate Deva Santardhanadhyastatsodharya Varada Bhavata Sapi Paitrishva Sehi.
Quick
भद्रां
question.
नाम प्रददुरत ते देवसन्दर्दनाद्या तत्सोदर्या वरद भवद साविवै दृश्वसेयी
And fourth line, Tatsodarya, adukapram this comma. Okay. Fourth line.
Okay. भद्रां नाम प्रददुरतदे देवसन्दर्दनात्स्या तत्सोदर्या वरद भवद साविवै दृश्वसेयी
भद्रां नाम प्रततुरतते देवसन्तर्दनात्यास्तत्सोदर्यां वरत भवतः सापि पैतृष्वसेयी भद्रां नाम प्रततुरतते देवसन्तर्दनात्यास्तत्सोदर्यां वरत भवतः सापि पैतृष्वसेयी.
Priti, in the fourth line, first word, Tatsodarya only. There's no im there.
ஓ எனக்கு இங்க இம் போட்டிருக்கு அடிச்சுடுறேன்.
Okay, okay. Yeah, there's no im there. Tatsodarya.
Okay. Tatsodarya varata bhavata sapi paitrishva yasei. Thank you.
Madhu, you had a question or somebody had a question?
I did. I wanted to just ask where the comma was. So after Tatsodarya.
Yeah, the fourth
Okay.
line after the first word. Yeah.
Thank you.
That's a fine. Parthadhirapyakritalavanam toyamatrabhilaksham laksham chitva shaparamavritah lakshmanam madrakanyam ashtabevam tava samabhavan vallabhastatra madhye shushrodatvam surapatigira bhauma duscheshtitani. So you got 7 so far, right? Then which was started with Rukmini, Jambavati, Satyabhama. Then in the third stanza, it was Kalindi, Mitravinda. So that's 4 and 5. And the previous one, Satya or Nagnajiti and Bhadra, 7. So the 8th one is called Lakshmana. Lakshman in Rama, Lakshmana. When you say, you just put a single A, it's a male character, right? Like Ramayana. When you put a double A, Lakshmana, double A, then it becomes a female name. So here it is Lakshmana. So it's a double A at the end of it, right? So this Lakshmana, so at the time, people, I think it was very hard to get a bride because they had so many competitions, right? So this one was very similar to what happened with Draupadi. Is it says you have to again shoot that fish which was swimming, which was swinging upstairs. You have to look at the reflection of the fish. And here it says even Arjuna could not win that. And Krishna, we never knew could play, which could be a great archer, but he was, because he's whatever he wants to be. So he says, even Partha here refers to Arjuna. Even Arjuna could not hit the target. Krishna, you were able to hit the target because you are destined to marry that Lakshmana, or vice Lakshmana was destined to marry you. Anyway, with that, you hit the target and then you married Lakshmana. So with that, Ashtavevam, with that, you have 8 people who you got married to, and then you were staying in Dwaraka. So at that time, you then got the news from the son of, about the son of Bhumi, which is Bhumi Putra, about Narakasura. You get the news from Indra that he actually stole a very special earring of Indra's mother, Diti. There's something very special which Narakasura ends up stealing. So Indra comes to Krishna asking for help to get it from Narakasura. Parthadhyair apyakrita You can break it that ra if you want. Parthadhyair apyakrita comma. Toya matrabhilaksham, comma. Laksham chitva chaparam avritaha. You will not have a visarga, but add a visarga and a comma. Avritaha. Lakshmanam Madra Kanyam. Madra is name of the region. Parthadhirapyakrita toya matrabhilaksham laksham chitva chaparamavritah Lakshmanam Madra Kanyam.
पार्थाद्यैर् अभ्यकृतलवनं तोयमात्राभिलक्ष्यं लक्षं चित्वा शबरमवृताः लक्ष्मणामत्रगण्यां पार्थाद्यैर् अभ्यकृतलवनं तोयमात्राभिलक्ष्यं लक्षं चित्वा शबरमवृताः लक्ष्मणामत्रगण्याम्
पार्थाद्यैरप्यकृतलवनं तोयमात्राभिलक्ष्यं लक्षं चित्वा शफरमवृथाः लक्ष्मणां मद्रकन्याम् पार्थाद्यैरप्यकृतलवनं तोयमात्राभिलक्ष्यं लक्षं चित्वा शफरमवृथाः लक्ष्मणां मद्रकन्याम्
Ashtavevam tava samabhavan vallabhas tatra madhye, comma, lines together. Shushrota tvam surapati gira, comma, bhauma duscheshti tani. So Bhauma, that is the name of Narakasura because he is the son of Bhumi Devi, so his name is Bhauma. So you then come to hear about the evil deeds that Bhauma has done. Ashtavevam tava samabhavan vallabhastatra madhye shushrothatvam surapati gira bhauma duscheshtitani.
अष्टावेवं तव समभवन् वल्लभास्तत्र मध्ये शुश्रोथध्वं सुरपदिगिरा भौमदुश्चेष्टितानि अष्टावेवं तव समभवन् वल्लभास्तत्र मध्ये शुश्रोथध्वं सुरपदिगिरा भौमदुश्चेष्टितानि
अष्टावेवं तव समभवन् वल्लभास्तत्र मध्ये शुश्रोथत्वं सुरपतिगिरा भौमतुश्चेष्टितानि अष्टावेवं तव समभवन् वल्लभास्तत्र मध्ये शुश्रोथत्वं सुरपतिगिरा भौमतुश्चेष्टितानि.
That's a sixth. Smrita yatam pakshe pravaramadiruಢಸ್ತ್ವಮಗಮೋ vahan anke bhamam upavanamivarati bhavanam vibhindan durgani trudita pritana shonitarasaihi puram tavat pragjyotisham akuruta shonita puram. So Krishna, you decided to go there because you heard about the evil deeds of Bhauma. And the evil deeds of Bhauma, we'll see what all it is. But the primary one that caused the trigger was Indra coming and asking for help. So you, Krishna, go along with Satyabhama. Now, why is Krishna going with Satyabhama to get rid of Narakasura? Right? We'll see that towards the end of this Dashakam. So you and Satyabhama go, and then you both go on Garuda, which is Smritayatam. The moment you think about it, it'll actually come. So both of you end up going there, right? And I said last time, like there's a picture of Krishna flying on Garuda with Satyabhama on his lap to go. It's a common picture there. So anyway, so that's how they go, right? They're going to get rid of Narakasura at that time, Bhauma. So you both go there to this place called as Pragjyotisham. I don't know why that is the name, but that is the name of that place. Probably had some significance, which is like a very well-built fortress and all of that stuff. But you, Krishna, go very easily, like as if you're going to a garden, right? You just both of you go without any army and you start going and attacking Narakasura's kingdom. Smrita yatam, comma, pakshi pravaram, breaking at that ma, pakshi pravaram adhirudhas Tvamagamo, comma, Bahannanke Bhamam. So the second ma, the mu that is there, we're going to break it. Im Bhamam, comma. Next word will start with the U. Upavanam Ivarati Bhavanam. Smrita Yatam Pakshe Pravaramadiruಢಸ್ತ್ವಮಗಮೋ Bahannanke Bhamam Upavanam Ivarati Bhavanam.
मृद्धायातं पक्षि रूढस्त्वमगमो वहन्नङ्गे वामाम् उपवनमिवाराधिभवनम्.
First line, the Smrita Yatam and then a comma.
Okay. स्मृतायातं पक्षि प्रवरमधिरूढस्त्वमगमो वहन्नङ्गे वामाम् उपवनमिवाराधिभवनम्.
स्मृतायातं पक्षिप्रवरम् अधिरूढस्त्वमगमो वहन्नङ्गे भामाम् उपवनमिवाराधिपवनम्. स्मृतायातं पक्षिप्रवरम् अधिरूढस्त्वमगमो वहन्नङ्गे भामाम् उपवनमिवाराधिपवनम्.
Bibhindan Durgani Trutita Pritana Shonita Rasaihi. Then is continuous, comma at the end. Puram Tavat Pragjotisham. The ma, we are going to break it, im and a comma. Pragjotisham, comma. Next word starts with the a. Akurutaha, put a ish. Akurutash Shonitapuram. Vibhindan Durgani Trutita Pritana Shonita Rasaihi Puram Tavat Pragjotisham Akuruta Shonitapuram.
विविन्दन् दुर्गानि दृढितभृतना शोणितरसैः पुरं तावत् प्राग् ज्योतिषम् अकुरुता शोणितपुरम्. विविन्दन् दुर्गानि दृढितभृतना शोणितरसैः पुरं तावत् प्राग् ज्योतिषम् अकुरुता शोणितपुरम्.
विभिन्दन् दुर्गाणि त्रिटितपृथनाशोनितरसैः पुरं तावत् प्राज्ञा ज्योतिषम् अकुरुथाशोनितपुरम्.
The last line, Pragjotisham. Ig, Pragjotisham.
प्राग्ज्योतिषम्. विभिन्दन् दुर्गाणि त्रिटितपृतनाशोनितरसैः पुरं तावत् प्राग्ज्योतिषम् अकुरुथाशोनितपुरम्.
Seven? Yeah, correct, yeah. Murastvam Panchasyo Jaladivad Vanamadhyadudapatate Sachakrena Pradalita Shiramangshu Bhavata Chaturdantai Danta Valapati Birindhana Samaram Ratankena Chitwa Narakamakaros Narakam. So Krishna comes there to attack Narakasura. So this is commander of Narakasura called as Mura. This Mura actually had 5 heads. So even Brahma had only 4, but Mura somehow had 5. And he was the one who was actually guarding that entire city. They had a moat and all of that. So a lot of detailed description in Bhagavatam of Narakasura's kingdom and all the fort and protection, everything you had. So Krishna, you then defeated that Mura. You got rid of Mura with your Sudarshana Chakra. That's why you're called as Murari. So Ari means an enemy. Mura is one of this big commanders of Narakasura because you got rid of him, who is the primary person for Narakasura, right-hand man. You got rid of him, so you're called as Murari. So next, Narakasura, who is there, he's coming to battle. And I asked about, why is Satyabhama coming there? Anyone has the backstory on why Satyabhama went there? It is not in Narayaneeyam though, but there is a reason why Satyabhama went there. Otherwise, why will she go to battle to kill Narakasura? No? So one of the boons that Narakasura had when he had prayed to Brahma was that he will only die. See, everybody asks for immortality, but that never happens. So they all put some conditions, right? So one of the conditions that Narakasura says is, when my mother wishes that I die, then I will die. Because the mother generally will not wish for the son or daughter to be dead, right? So he says that is the boon that he says. Brahma says, okay. So since Satyabhama is the incarnation of Bhudevi, who's Narakasura's mom, now don't ask how did Bhudevi come previously. There's some connection that goes there, right? So it is the incarnation that is coming as Satyabhama. So at that time when Narakasura Krishna battle is going on, Krishna knows he can't just get rid of Narakasura because of the boon he has. So he gets hurt or pretends to get hurt. At which point Satyabhama says that go get rid of Narakasura. So she wants Krishna to get rid of Narakasura at that point, at which point Krishna then gets rid of Narakasura. So anyway, that is all. There's nothing much. So at that time, Krishna then with your Sudarshana Chakra, you get rid of Narakasura. Was coming on a 4-tusked white elephant. That's what he had. He had a lot of white elephants, which is going to come in the next stanza. So with that 4-tusked white elephant, he was there. You then got rid of Narakasura with your Sudarshan Chakram and then gave him liberation, right? He then got liberated because he died in your hands. Murastvam panchasyo, comma, jaladhi vana madhyad udapatat, this is breaking at the do, madhyad udapatat, comma, sa chakre chakrena pradalita shira mangshu bhavata. Murastvam panchasyo jaladhivana madhyadudapatate sachakre chakrena pradalita shira mangshu bhavata.
मुरस्त्वां पञ्चास्यो जलति वनमध्यादुदपतत् स चक्रे चक्रेण प्रदलित शिरामंशु भवता.
The pradalita is one word. Shira could be a separate word if needed.
Okay. Muraswam panchasyo jalati vanamadhyat udapadat sa chakre chakrena pradalita shira mangshu bhavata. Right?
That's fine. You can sa chakre chakrena pradalita shira mangshu bhavata.
Sa chakre chakrena pradalita shira mangshu bhavata.
मुरस्त्वां पञ्चास्यो जलति वनमध्यादुतपतत् सचक्रे चक्रेण प्रचलितशिरा मङ्क्षु भवता. मुरस्त्वां पञ्चास्यो जलति वनमध्यादुतपतत् सचक्रे चक्रेण प्रचलितशिरा मङ्क्षु भवता.
Chatur dantair dantavala patibhir, breaking at that ra, patibhir indhana samaram. So that line is continuous. You will have to break it at that ir to land it. Patibhir indhana samaram, comma, rathangena chitva, comma, narakam akaros tirna narakam. Chaturdantair dantavalapatibhirindhana samaram ratangena chitva narakamakarostirna narakam.
Chaturdante dantavalapatibhir indana samaram rathangena chitva narakamakarostirna narakam. Chaturdante dantavalapatibhir indana samaram ratangena chitva narakamakarostirna narakam.
चतुर्दन्तैर्दन्तावलपतिभिरिन्दानसमरं रथाङ्गेन चित्वा नरकमकरोस्तीर्न नरकम्. चतुर्दन्तैर्दन्तावलपतिभिरिन्दानसमरं रथाङ्गेन चित्वा नरकमकरोस्तीर्न नरकम्.
तुतो भूम्या राज्यं सपदि भगदत्तेस्य दनहे गजञ्चैकं दत्त्वा प्रजिघयितनाघान् निजपुरीं खलेनाबद्धानां स्वगतमनसां षोडश पुनः सहस्राणि स्त्रीणामपि च धनराशिं च विपुलम्. So one of the reasons why Krishna had come there was to help Indra, like we said, his mother Aditi's some special earring, not a normal earring, something special, which Narakasura had taken. So Krishna first gets that. Then Narakasura, he has a son called Bhagadatta. So that Bhagadatta is then established as a ruler. And then there are a lot, like we said, he had a lot of elephants which had 4 tusks, white elephants which had 4 tusks. So Krishna, then you transport them to Dwaraka. Don't know how, but he transported them to Dwaraka. Now, Narakasura had imprisoned about 16,000 women of all ages. So these are people who are really old to people who are really young to intermediate age. It didn't matter. He had 16,000 of them. He had actually caged them and kept, right, women, which is what Krishna ends up freeing here. So you then go free all those 16,000 women who now have no choice. Where will they go? So you take all of them along with you to Dwaraka as well. So that's the word which comes there. Shodasha Punasahasrani. Shodasha refers to 16. Again, Punaha Sahasrani, 1,000. 16, again 1,000. Means referring to 16,000 women who were there. Stuto Bhumya, comma, Rajyam Sapadi Bhagadattesya Tanaye, comma, Gajanchaikam Dattva, comma, Prajighayitha Nagan Nijapurim. You can break it that na Nagan Nijapurim. Stuto Bhumya Rajyam Sapadi Bhagadattesya Tanaye Gajanchaikam Dattva Prajighayitha Nagan Nijapurim.
स्तुतो भूम्या राज्यं सपति भगदद्देस्य तनये कजञ्चैकं दद्वा प्रजगयितनाकान् निजपुरीं
First line, sorry. First line, Bhumya. After that, there is a comma. First line. Then the second line, Prajigayitha.
Okay. स्तुतो भूम्या राज्यं सपति भगदद्देस्य तनये कजञ्चैकं दत्वा प्रजगयितनाकान् निजपुरीं
Prajigayitha.
Oh, Praji. Okay, one more time. Stuto Bhumya Rajam Sabati Bhagadaddesya Tanaye Kajanchaikam Tadva Praji Gayita Naka Nijapuri.
स्तुतो भूम्या राज्यं सपदि भगदत्तेस्य तनये गजञ्चैकं दत्त्वा प्रजिगयिथ नागानिजपुरीं स्तुतो भूम्या राज्यं सपदि भगदत्तेस्य तनये गजञ्चैकं दत्त्वा प्रजिगयिथ नागानिजपुरीं
Halena Baddhanam, comma, Swagata Manasam Shodasha Punaha, put a is and put a plus, Shodasha Punas Sahasrani Strinam Apicha, comma. So third line after Khalena Baddhanam, there's a comma, and then all the way together after Strinam Apicha, comma, Dhana Rashim Cha Vipulam. Khalena Baddhanam Swagata Manasam Shodasha Punas Sahasrani Strinam Apicha Dhana Rashim Cha Vipulam.
Kalena Baddhana Swakada Manasam Shodasha Punas Sagastrani Srinamapicha Tanarasim Chavipulam Kalena Baddhana Swagada Manasam Shodasha Punas Sagastrani Srinamapicha Tanarasim Chavipulam
खलेनाबद्धानां स्वगतमनसां षोडश पुनः सहस्राणि स्त्रीणामपि च धनराशिं च विपुलं खलेनाबद्धानां स्वगतमनसां षोडश पुनः सहस्राणि स्त्रीणामपि च धनराशिं च विपुलम्.
That's right. Bhaumapahritakundhalam Tadaditerdatum Prayato Divam Shakradyirmahitas Samam Dayitaya Dyustrishu Datta Kriya Kritva Kalpatarum Rushabhipatitam Jitvendrama Abhyagamah tattu Srimadadosha idrisha iti Vyakhyatumeva kritaha. So now that Krishna, the 16,000, we'll talk about the next answer. So because Krishna has got that earring from Narakasura, which belonged to Indra's mother, so Krishna, you and Satyabhama go all the way to Svargaloka to hand over that special whatever was there to Indra, to Aditi, Indra's mother. And then in return, no, Krishna, then Satyabhama there wanted the Parijata tree, which is there in Indra's Svargam. And Indra refused to give it. So, but says, Indra, like, they have all come to help you out. And then when they ask, you didn't. But eventually, Indra ends up giving it. So they then bring the Parijata tree, which ends up coming into Satyabhama's quarters. She ends up keeping it. It comes to Dwaraka, which Dwaraka at one point must have been very rich because they had all this different wealth they got from Narakasura, and anyway, so Parijata tree, all of that end up coming to Dwaraka. Bhauma Pahrita Kundalam, comma, Tadaditer Datum Prayato Divam, comma, Shakradhyir Mahitaha, is Mahitas Samam Dayitaya, comma, Dyustrishu Datta Kriya. Bhaumapahritakundalam tadaditerdatum prayato divam shakradhyir mahitas samam dayitaya dyustrishu datta kriya.
Bhaumabhakradakundalam tadatitir datum prayato divam shakradyairmahitas samandayitaya dyastreshu daddakriya. Bhaumabhakradakundalam tadatitir datum prayato divam shakradyairmahitas samandayitaya dyastreshu daddakriya.
First line, after kundalam, there is a comma. Okay. Bhaumapahritakundalam.
भौमापाहृतकुण्डलं तदति ते दातुं प्रयातो दिवं शक्रात्यैर्महितः समं दयितया द्युस्त्रिषु तत्तः प्रिया.
And the second last, dyustrishu.
द्युस्त्रिषु, yeah. भौमापाहृतकुण्डलं तदति ते दातुं प्रयातो दिवं शक्रात्यैर्महितः समं दयितया द्युस्त्रिषु दत्तः क्रिया.
Hatva kalpatarum, comma, rushabhipatitam jitvendram abhyagamaha. Breaking at that ma. Jitvendram abhyagamaha. Visarga, comma, at the end. Next line, the is will go away. Tattu Shri Mada Dosha Idrisha Iti, comma, Vyakyatum Eva Kritaha. Kritva Kalpatarum Rushabhipatitam Jitvendram Abhyagamaha Tattu Shri Mada Dosha Idrisha Iti Vyakyatum Eva Kritaha.
कृत्वा कल्पतरुं वृषाभिपतितं जिद्वेन्द्रम् अभ्याहमः तत्तु श्रीमददोषैदृशयिते व्याख्यातुमेव कृताः. कृत्वा कल्पतरुं वृषाभिपतितं जिद्वेन्द्रम् अभ्याहमः तत्तु श्रीमददोषैदृशयिते व्याख्यातुमेव कृताः.
Again, third and the kalpataru kapram pause. Third line, okay.
Okay.
You were pausing after Rushabhipatitam. It's after kalpataru.
कृत्वा कल्पतरुं वृषाभिपतितं जित्वेन्द्रमभ्यागमः तत्तु श्रीमततोषयीदृशयिति व्याख्यातुमेवाकृताः. कृत्वा कल्पतरुं वृषाभिपतितं जित्वेन्द्रमभ्यागमः तत्तु श्रीमततोषयीदृशयिति व्याख्यातुमेवाकृताः.
Just switch next. Nalini, you can be student, and Shubhahari, you can be student. That's it. Kalpatrum Satyabhama Bhavana Bhuvi Srujan द्व्यष्ट साहस्रयोषाः स्वीकृत्य प्रत्यगारं विहित बहुवपुर्लालयन् केलिभेदैः आश्चर्यानारदालोकितविविधगतिः तत्र तत्रापि गेहे भूयः सर्वासु कुर्वन् दश दशतनयान् पाहि वातालयेश. Like we said, he brings it that's the Kalpaka Vriksha is bought over, put in Satyabhama's compound. The 16,000 women, like I said specifically, they are of all ages. So they're all like abandoned. So what will they do, right? So to give them protection, so the way when we say the 16,000 women were married to Krishna, it is not like marriage as like we see. It is like Krishna now offering them protection under his, his kingdom, right? So each of them got a place and then they took shelter under the guidance of Krishna. So they considered his wife because he gives them shelter, because that way nobody will do anything to them. So he then gets married to a 16,000 women. So that's why it becomes 16,008, right? When they say how many wives, but the wives here don't mean anything, right? Unlike our relationships here. So one day he just talks about how Narada goes there to Dwaraka because he's just curious to see how is Krishna spending time with all of these people, and he wants to test who is Krishna spending time with. So when he goes, Tatra Tatra Pige, every house Narada goes to, he's seeing a Krishna there. So it means everybody was equal, right? Krishna was there in everybody's house when Narada goes there. Anyway, with that, this Dashakam comes to an end. Guru Arapa, Pahi Vatalayesha, please protect me. Kalpadrum Satyabhama Bhavana Bhuvi Srijan, Dveshta Sahasra Yoshaha, Svikritya Pratyagaram Vihita Bahu Vapur Lalayan Keli Bhedaihi. Second line, there's no pause. Kalpadrum Satyabhama Bhavana Bhuvi Srijan द्व्यष्ट साहस्रयोषाः स्वीकृत्य प्रत्यगारं विहित बहुवपुर्लालयन् केलिभेदैः.
कल्पद्रुं सत्यभामा भवन भुवि सृजन् द्वष्ट्यसाहस्रयोषाः स्वीकृत्य प्रत्यगारं विहित बहुवपुर्लालयन् केलिभेदैः.
First line, Nalini, Dvyashta.
Dvyashta.
It's Dvi and Ashta. Dvyashta. So
Dvyashta.
2 times. Yeah.
Dvyashta.
Yeah.
कल्पद्रुं सत्यभामा भवन भुवि सृजन् द्व्यष्टसाहस्रयोषाः स्वीकृत्य प्रत्यगारं विहित बहुवपुर्लालयन् केलिभेदैः.
Rajeshti, I have the first word. I have kalpadrumam. There's a visarga on top of ma.
No, it's Kalpadrum.
Drum. Okay.
कल्पद्रुं सत्यभामा भवन भुवि सृजन् द्व्यष्टसाहस्रयोषः स्वीकृत्य प्रत्यगारं विहित वपुर्लालयन् केलिभेदैः.
Shubhan, the first line, last word, Yoshaha.
कल्पद्रुं सत्यभामा भवन भुवि सृजन् द्व्यष्टसाहस्रयोषाः स्वीकृत्य प्रत्यगारं विहित बहुवपुर्लालयन् केलिभेदैः.
Ascharyan, double na there, Ascharyan Naradalokita Vividha Gatihi, the Visarga comma, that is goes away. Tatra Tatrapi Gehe, comma, Bhuyaha, put is Bhuyas Sarvasu Kurvan Dasha Dasha Thanayan, comma, Pahi Vatalayesha. Asharyan Naradhalokita Vividhagatihi Tatra Tatrapi Gehe Bhuya Sarvasu Kurvan Dasha Dasha Tanayan Pahi Vatalayesha.
आश्चर्या नारदालोकित विविधगतिः तत्र तत्रापि गेहे भूयः सर्वासु कुर्वन् दश दशतनयान् पाहि वातालयेश. आश्चर्यान् नारदालोकितविविधगतिः तत्र तत्रापि गेहे भूयः सर्वासु कुर्वन् दश दशतनयान् पाहि वातालयेश
आश्चर्यान्नारदालोकित विविधगतिः तत्र तत्रापि गेहे भूयः सर्वाशु कुर्वन् दश दशतनयान् पाहि वातालयेश आश्चर्यान्नारदालोकित विविधगतिः तत्र तत्रापि गेहे भूयः सर्वाशु कुर्वन् दश दशतनयान् पाहि वातालयेश.
Shri Krishnaya Parabrahmane Namaha. Okay, Dashakam 82. Little bit of a tough Dashakam. Bana Yuddham Nriga Moksham. So it's a very loaded Dashakam. It's got a lot of content in it. All of these 80s are. Okay, stanza 1. Pradyumno Raukmineyaha Sakhalu Tabakala Shambare Nakhritastam Hatva Ratya Sahapto Nijapura Maharat Rukmi Kanyam Chadhanyam Tatputro Tani Ruddho Guna Nidiravahat Rochanam Rukmi Pautrim Tratrotvahe Gataswam Nyavadi Musalina Rukmi Apidhyuta Vairat. There's a lot of things embedded in here, but we'll take some minutes. It will be a little confusing. So, to Krishna and Rukmini is born a son. His name is Pradyumna. Okay, so that Pradyumna, who is actually born, when he was a small baby, he was actually abducted by somebody. Somebody took him, stole him away when he was a small baby, just 6 days old. And then he was actually thrown into the sea when he was 6 days old. But what ends up happening is a fish ends up swallowing, a massive fish ends up swallowing him. That fish is then caught by a fisherman who takes it to the king, some other person, a person called as Sambhara, who was there. The fisherman takes it, gives it to Sambhara. The cook in Sambhara's kitchen was a lady called Mayavati. That lady cuts the fish. When she cuts the fish, she still sees a baby which is actually alive there. So she ends up taking that baby and she starts protecting that baby because it's a baby which is alive, right? So that baby, she's actually growing up. The baby begins to grow up. So at one point, Narada comes there to meet with this cook Mayavati, and he tells him that when Kamadeva got burnt with Shiva, at that time, his wife Rati went and pleaded saying that she wants to get back with Kamadeva. So at that time, they said that both of them are going to be reborn during the Dwapara Yuga, and then they will get married. Don't worry about the age difference here. So that Kamadeva is born as Pradyumna now to Krishna and Rukmini. And that Rati, who is the ex-wife of Kamadeva, is now born as Mayavati, who is the cook in the kitchen. So she now, the small baby which she gets, she realizes that she's bound to be together with that baby. So she takes care of that baby, and as that baby grows up and becomes big, she now tells him how to get rid of Sambhara, which he does, and they both now fly over to Dwaraka. So now Pradyumna is already a grown-up person. So when they fly over to Dwaraka and enter there, everybody's surprised because Pradyumna looks just like how Krishna was. So everybody's beginning to wonder, who is this person who's suddenly looking like Krishna, who's showing up here, and it causes a lot of confusion. So at that time, again, Narada comes and clarifies for everybody else, saying, this is your son Pradyumna, who you lost, who has now come back, and talks about the story of Kamadeva and Mayavati and Rati and everything. So that story, that comes to an end. Now, one more layer goes. So to this Pradyumna who is there, he also marries Rukmavati. So we remember Rukmi was the brother of Rukmini. So Rukmini's son is Pradyumna. Rukmi has a daughter. So Pradyumna marries that Rukmavati. And to them is born a son called as Aniruddha, who is the grandson. So these are the famous names in the lineage of Krishna, was Pradyumna and Aniruddha. That Aniruddha now marries the next generation of Rukmi again. So between Rukmini and Rukmi, they had like 2 other marriages. That's why it says Rukmi Pautri, the granddaughter of Rukmi. Aniruddha also ends up getting married. So, and during that marriage, Rukmini ends up dying. So that's why when we were talking about Rukmini Swayamvaram, when Krishna and Balarama hold Rukmini, so Rukmini was let go at that time because Rukmini had to go because he had to then have a daughter. She has to have a granddaughter because that's what Pradyumna and Aniruddha are going to end up marrying. Anyway, that was a lineage. It's all kind of said here. So Krishna, Rukmini, then Pradyumna gets married to Mayavati and Rukmavati, and Aniruddha gets married to the granddaughter of Rukmini. So, Pradyumno Raukmineyah, comma, sa khalu tava kala shambare nahritastham, comma, hatva ratya sahapto nijapuram, breaking at that ma, nijapuram aharat rukmi kanyam cha dhanyam. Second line is continuous. Pradyumno raukmineyah sa khalu tava kala shambare nahritastham hatva ratya sahapto nijapuramaharat rukmi kanyam cha dhanyam.
प्रद्युम्नो रौक्मिणीयः स खलु तव कला शम्बरेणाहृतस्त्वं हत्वा रत्या सहाप्तो निजपुरमहद्रुक्मिकन्यां च धन्याम्.
First line, last word, shambare nahritastam. I think you said stvam.
Okay. प्रद्युम्नो रौक्मिणीयः स खलु तव कला शम्बरेणाहृतस्तं हत्वा रत्या सहाप्तो निजपुरमहरद्रुक्मिकन्यां च धन्याम्.
प्रद्युम्नो रौक्मिणेयः स खलु तव कला सम्बरेणाहृतस्तं हत्वा रत्या सहाप्तो निजपुरमहरद् रुक्मिणी कन्यां च धन्याम्.
Rukmi kanyam.
Oh, रुक्मी कन्यां च धन्याम्. प्रद्युम्नो रौक्मिणेयः स खलु तव कला सम्बरेणाहृतस्तं हत्वा रत्या सहाप्तो निजपुरमहरद् रुक्मिकन्यां च धन्याम्.
Tat putrothani ruddho. One word will come together. Tat putrothani ruddho, comma, guna nidir abahad. I'm just breaking at the ra. Guna nidir abahad rochanam rukmi pautrim. So the granddaughter's name is Rochana, who Aniruddha marries. Rukmi pautrim, comma, tatro dvahe gatastvam nyavadi musalina, comma, rukmyapi dhyuta vairad. Tatputro thani ruddho gunanidhiravahat rochanam rukmi pautrim tatro dvahe gatastvam nyavadi musalina rukmyapi dhyuta vairad.
तत्पुत्रो दानिरुद्धो गुणनिधिरवहद्रोचनां रुक्मिपौत्रीं तत्रोद्वाहे गतस्तं न्यवधिमुसलिना रुक्म्यपि द्यूतवैरात्. तत्पुत्रो धानिरुद्धो गुणनिधिरवहद्रोचनां रुक्मिपौत्रीं तत्रोद्वाहे गतस्त्वं न्यवधिमुसलिना रुक्म्यपि द्यूतवैरात्.
तत्पुत्रो तनिरुद्धो गुणनिधिरवहत् रोचनां रुक्मिपौत्रीं तत्रोद्वाहे गतस्त्वं न्यवधिमुसलिना रुक्म्यपि द्यूतवैरात्.
The first line, the third line, first word, tat putro thani ruddho.
तत्पुत्रो धानिरुद्धो गुणनिधिरवहद् रोचनां रुक्मिपौत्रीं तत्रोद्वाहे गतस्त्वं न्यवधिमुसलिना रुक्म्यपि द्यूतवैरात्.
And the third, you said it correct only, but the word is tat putro atha aniruddho. Okay, so that's why that putro thani ruddho, it just comes together because of that S symbol there.
Okay.
Stanza 2. Tune changes. बाणस्य साबलिसुतस्य सहस्रबाहोः माहेश्वरस्य महिता दुहिता किलोषा तत्पौत्रमेन मनिरुद्धमदृष्टपूर्वं स्वप्नेनुभूय भगवन् विरहातुराभूत्. Also, a big story coming here. So there was this person called as Bana, who was the son of Mahabali from Vamana Avataram. So some of these people, because they probably didn't even live on earth, they span multiple thousands of years. So that Bana was a great devotee of Lord Shiva, and he had actually helped Shiva on a lot of things. Like he played the music when Shiva was dancing and all of that. So Shiva was very pleased with him. And Shiva asked, "What boon do you want?" So this Bana tells Shiva, "I want you to be the guardian of my city," essentially. So Shiva says, "Okay." So essentially, nobody can attack Bana, nobody can enter because Lord Shiva is like the door and the door of Bana. Now, that Bana because of that, he was very powerful. He also had Sahasra Baho, he had thousands of arms, because of which, it's impossible to defeat him, anyways. Now, that Bana had a daughter called as Usha. That Usha, they all had access to Shiva Parvati. I don't know how, but because of the great. So she actually sees Shiva and Parvati, right? Parvati is sitting with Shiva. So she feels like you are an ideal couple, O Shiva and Parvati. So Usha says, "I also want a great husband like Shiva," right? Somebody like that. So Parvati says, "Don't worry. You do a certain austerity, and then in your dream, a person is going to come on the 12th night. The person who comes in your dream is going to be your husband." So she then goes to now she does whatever austerities need to be done. On the 12th day, she gets a person in her dream. She has not seen that person before. Now she's immediately in love with that person. She has to figure out who that person is. How do you know who that person is? So that's the second stanza here. So she falls in love now. Now she can't get out of that person, out of her mind, because she's absolutely in love with that person. बाणस्य सा बलि सुतस्य सहस्र बाहोः, put a visarga comma, bahoho. Next line, the ir goes away on top of ma. Maheshwarasya mahita duhita kilosha tvat pautram enam aniruddham. I'm just breaking at every ma if you want. Tvat pautram enam aniruddham adrishta purvam, comma, swapnenubhuya bhagavan viraha turabhut. So the person she's seeing is Guru Arpa, your grandson Aniruddha is the person who she sees in her dream. Bhanasya sabalisutasya sahasrabhahoho maheshwarasya mahita duhita kilosha tvat pautram enam aniruddham adrishta purvam swapnenubhuya bhagavan viraha turabhut.
बाणस्य साबलिसुतस्य सहस्रबाहोः माहेश्वरस्य महिता दुहिता किलोषाः तौत्पौत्रमेनमनिरुद्धमदृष्टपूर्वम् स्वप्नेनुभूय भगवन् विरहातुराभूत्.
Second line kilosha, there's no visarga there, okay, at the end of the second.
Okay. बाणस्य साबलिसुतस्य सहस्रबाहोः माहेश्वरस्य महिता दुहिता किलोषा तौत्पौत्रमेनमनिरुद्धदृष्टपूर्वम् तत्पौत्रमेनमनिरुद्धमदृष्टपूर्वम् स्वप्नेनुभूय भगवन् विरहातुराभूत्.
बाणस्य सा बलिसुतस्य सहस्रबाहोः माहेश्वरस्य महिता दुहिता किलोषा तत्त्वत्पौत्रमेनमनिरुद्धमदृष्टपूर्वम् स्वप्नेनुभूय भगवन् विरहातुराभूत्. बाणस्य सा बलिसुतस्य सहस्रबाहोः माहेश्वरस्य महिता दुहिता किलोषा त्वत्पौत्रमेनमनिरुद्धमदृष्टपूर्वम् स्वप्नेनुभूय भगवन् विरहातुराभूत्.
Stanza 3. योगिन्यतीव कुशला खलु चित्रलेखा तस्या सखी विलिखति तरुणानशेषान् तत्रानिरुद्धमुषया विदितं निशायाम् आनेष्टयोगबलतो भवतो निकेतात्. So, like, because she's seen this person in her dream, she cannot come out of it, right? So she's like just stuck with that person. So she's just very unsettled. So when her friends go and ask her what happened, she says, I saw this person who Parvati herself has said is going to be my husband. Now I don't know who that person is, and I can't get that person out of my mind. So how do you locate this person? So her friend called Chitra Lekha means someone who can draw really well. So she says, okay, tell me the description of the person. I'm going to draw that person. So she tells the description of the person as somebody who's got a very dark gray, dark blue in complexion. He's got beautiful eyes. He's got very strong arms. He's also wearing pitambaram. And she kind of describes that person. So Chitralekha draws that person. So she draws everybody, who are be related to this, right? Because she's thinking if Bana's daughter, which means that she must be thinking, all these the demigods, Gandharvas, Siddhas, all of them. So she draws all of them. She keeps saying no, no, no to everybody. Then, as she's now coming down to the people who are living in earth at the time, she then draws Krishna. She says it looks like him, but it is not quite him. Then she goes down to draw Pradyumna. She says also not him. Then she draws Aniruddha, who is Krishna's grandson. She says exactly this guy, right? She says this is the person who has come in my dream. Now, this person is sitting in Dwaraka, but somehow the Chitralekha and Usha, because they have Shiva as their guardian, right? So they're like that big. So they somehow, with their yogic powers, go to Dwaraka overnight, transport Aniruddha back to where they are. So essentially, they kidnap Aniruddha and bring to the women's quarters where Usha is, because she's like, I need to marry this guy. You need to bring him to me. So they go and move him over to where they are. So Aniruddha wakes up and he sees that he's in the ladies' quarters next to Usha at this point. Yogin Yativa Kushala Khalu Chitralekha, Tasyaha, put is Tasyas Sakhi Vilikhati Tarunanasheshan Tatraniruddham. So Tatra Tatraniruddham Ushaya Viditam Nishayam. So you can do the ma from the next line into a im, Nishayam, and put a plus. So Nishayam, next word start with the a. Aneshta Yoga Balato Bhavato Niketat. Yoginyatieva Kushala Khalu Chitralekha Tasya Sakhi Vilikhati Tarunanasheshan Tatraniruddhamushaya Viditam Nishaya Aneshta Yoga Balato Bhavato Niketat.
योगिन्यतीव कुशला खलु चित्रलेखा तस्याः सखी विलिखति तरुणानशेषान् तत्रानिरुद्धमुषया विदितं निशायाम् आनेष्टयोगबलतो भवतो निकेतात् योगिन्यतीव कुशला खलु चित्रलेखा तस्याः सखी विलिखति तरुणानशेषान् तत्रानिरुद्धमुषया विदितं निशायाम् आनेष्टयोगबलतो भवतो निकेतात्.
Last two lines are together. Nishayam Aneshta Yoga Balato. You can just say it together.
Oh, it's plus. It's not comma.
Plus there, yeah.
Okay.
योगिन् यत्तीवा कुशला खलु चित्रलेखा तस्या सखी विलिखति तरुणान शेषान् तत्रानिरुद्धमुषया विदितं निशायाम् आनेष्टयोगबलतो भवतो निकेतात् योगिन् यतीवा कुशला खलु चित्रलेखा तस्या सखी विलिखति तरुणानशेषान् तत्रानिरुद्धमुषया विदितं निशायाम् आनेष्टयोगबलतो भवतो निकेतात्.
That's a point. Kanya
Rajesh ji, sorry to bother you. Niketna dark nartama, night time.
Nishayam is night time. Third line end la Nishayam Nisha. Nisha means dark or night. So Nishayam is night. Niketat is, I think, the residence from their house.
Oh,
From their house. So Nishayam is the so Aneshta Yoga Balato with her yogic power from his residence, from Aniruddha's
Residence. Okay.
overnight, Nishayam, at night.
Niket. Okay. Thank you.
Kanyapure dayitaya sukamahamantam chainam kathanchana babandhushi sharva bandhau Srinaradokta tadudanta duranta roshaihi tvam tasya shonitapuram yadubhirnyarundhaha. So now Aniruddha is in the women's quarters, right, with Usha. And, they both fall in love, because they both are destined to get married here. And, but Usha actually keeps Aniruddha in hiding, that even her father or a lot of her own friends, the companions who take care of the princess, even they don't know that Aniruddha is there. So she's keeping him in secrecy. But her behavior starts changing because she is with a man. Her behavior starts changing now, and her friends notice that something is different with the way she's beginning to behave. They inform Bana. Bana comes there. He finds out Aniruddha is there, and then because Bana is so powerful, he then is able to hold Aniruddha. He's able to capture Aniruddha. Aniruddha cannot escape anymore. So he kind of arrests Aniruddha right now. Now somebody has to come and save Aniruddha, right? So Narada goes to Dwaraka, informs Pradyumna and everybody that your son is held hostage by Bana in this location because he's fallen in love with Usha. He tells the entire story. So the entire Yadava army now begins to go to attack Bana. Kanyapure Daitaya Sukhamara Mantam, Chainam Kathanchana Babandhushi Sharva Bandhau Shri Naradokta Tadudanta Duranta Roshaihi. Put a visarga comma, Roshaihi. Next line, the is will go away. Tvam tasya shonitapuram yadubhir nyarundhaha. Kanyapure dayitaya sukhamaramantam chainam kathanchana babandhushi sharva bandhau Srinaradokta tadudanta duranta roshaihi Tvam tasya shonitapuram yadubhir nyarundhaha.
Kanyapure dayitaya sukhamaramantam chainam kathanchana babandhushi sharvabandhau Srinaradokta tadudanta durantaroshaihi Tvam tasya shonitapuram yadubhir nyarundhaha. Kanyapure dayitaya sukhamaramantam chainam kathanchana babandhushi sharvabandhau Srinaradokta tadudanta durantaroshaihi Tvam tasya shonitapuram yadubhinyarundhaha.
Kanyapure daitaya sukamaaramantam chainam katanchana babandhushi sarvabandhau Srinaradokta tadu danta durantaroshaihi tvam tasya shonitapuram yadubhir nyarundaha. Kanyapure daitaya sukamaaramantam chainam katanchana babandhushi sarvabandhau Srinaradokta tadudanta durantaroshaihi tam tasya shonitapuram yadubhir nyarundaha.
And second line, last word, Sha sound, Sharva Bandhau. Babandhushi.
Okay. Yeah.
Sharva refers to
Sharva
Shiva
Bandhau.
there. Sharva Bandhau, yeah.
Sharva Bandhavna Shiva Nartama.
Shiva or devotee. The one
Shiva's
who's
devotee.
bound by Shiva.
Babandhushi.
The
Sharva.
next word and the Sharva Bandhau. Sharva Bandhau naka Sharva Shiva. Bandhau means someone who's tied by Shiva.
Tied. Okay.
By Shiva.
Yeah. Bound by. Okay.
Shiva. Yeah.
Tapaka Chainam Kadanjanana.
Katanjana somehow.
Oh, somehow. Oh. Chainam na find. Oh my God. Chinese find everything. So
So another is just saying that he was found by the great devotee of Shiva, which was Bana. And the Chandasakaha, instead of saying the word Bana, they might put Sharva Bandhav up in to get into that. Sounds fine. So tune changes. Puri Pala Shaila Priya Duhitrunatosya Bhagavan Samam bhuta vratair yadubalamashangam nirurude Mahaprano bano jhatiti yuyudhanena yuyudhe Guha pradyumnena tvamapi purahamtra jagatishe. So this is just setting up of the big battle that's actually going to happen between the Yadava army and Bhana, right? So at that time, all the Bhuta Ganas of Shiva who are all protecting the city of Bhana, then the Yadava army is coming there, and then they all begin to have a massive battle that is there. So we'll cover that in 6, 7, and 8 in the next class. But that is what is happening is they all come there to rescue Aniruddha. Puri Palash Shaila Priya Duhitr Nathosya Bhagavan, Samam Bhuta Vratair Yadu Balam Ashankam, breaking at that ma. Balam Ashankam Nirurudhe Mahaprano Bano Chatiti Yuyudhanena Yuyudhe, Guha, put a F, Guha Pradyumnena Tuamapi Purahantra Jagatishe. Puri Pala Shaila Priya Duhitrunathosya Bhagavan Samam Bhuta Vratair Yadubalamashankam Nirurudhe Mahaprano Bano Jhatiti Yuyudhanena Yuyudhe Guha Pradyumnena Tvamapi Purahantra Jagatishe.
पुरीपाल शैल प्रिय दुहितृनारद पुरीपाल शैल प्रिय दुहितृनाथोऽस्य भगवान् समं भूतवातैर्यदुबल बलमशङ्कं निरुरुधे महाप्राणो बाणो झटिति युधानेन युधे गृहः प्रद्युम्नेन त्वमपि पुरहन्त्रा झगटिषे पुरीपालैः शैलप्रियदुहितृनारद पुरीपालः शैलप्रियदुहितृनाथोऽस्य भगवान् समं भूतव्रातैर्यदुबलमशङ्कं निरुरुधे महाप्राणो बाणो झटिति युयुधानेन युयुधे गृहः प्रद्युम्नेन त्वमपि पुरहन्त्रा जघटिषे
पूरीपालशैलप्रियदुहितृनाथोऽस्य भगवान् समं भूतो व्रातेर्यदुबलम् अशङ्कं निरुरुधे महाप्राणो भानो झटिति युयुधानेन युयुधे गुहः प्रद्युम्नेन त्वमपि पुरहन्त्रा जगटिषे.
And the first word, the pu is a short pu. Puri Palash.
Okay. पुरीपालशैलप्रियदुहितृनाथोऽस्य भगवान् समं भूतव्रातेर्यदुबलमशङ्कं निरुरुधे महाप्राणो बाणि झटिति युयुधानेन युयुधे गुहः प्रद्युम्नेन त्वमपि पुरहन्त्रा जगटिषे.
Krishnaya Parabrahmane Namaha. And the class here today. Chandhanandhavabodhatmakamanupamitam kaladeshavadibhyam nirmuktam nityamuktam nigamashatasahasrena nirbhasyamanam aspashtam drishtamatre punarurupurushartatmakam brahmatattvam tattavadbhadi sakshat gurupavanapure hanta bhagyam jananam kahena vacha manasendriyerva बुद्ध्यात्मना वा प्रकृते स्वभावात् करोमि यत् सकलं परस्मै नारायणायेति समर्पयामि. Thank you all. Remember, next Sunday, if you haven't already seen the message or responded, Pratibha Garu and Venkat Garu on the call, they are hosting a Sampurna Narayaneeyam next Saturday in their house. So I know I've sent the seats. Most of you have signed up. So if any of you is not yet and are able to come, please come. You can come anytime. It's going to be all day from 8 o'clock till 4 o'clock next Saturday in Barrington.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Raj.
Rajesh.